to another dose of Teflon and Titanium. I'm your host, Scotty G. Back at it again. This time we're going to talk about how self-improvement can be detrimental to your journey. It can be detrimental in many ways, but we all know the power of self-improvement, what our goals are for men and women. Better health, better career, better finances, better sex life, better life, period. So when can self-help be detrimental? I can think of 5 different ways after all the people that I've talked to. Number 1, obsession/addiction. Self-improvement can be like a drug. It can be addictive for many people. Scarcity and independence is fine, but not at the expense of family, your wife, your husband, your boyfriend. You can be driven and have a mission and purpose, but you need to be flexible too. Routine is key, but being rigid is the way of the asshole. Just doing your own thing, all else be damned, that's when things can go wrong when it comes to self-help. The dopamine hits from outside validation can be a problem for some, if not many. You start improving, you start looking better, you start dressing better, you're possibly going to get attention from other people, and that can be addicting to some people. And it can be a big problem for many, many people. I've seen it happen many times with my coaching people, and it can lead to very, very bad decisions. Narcissism can creep in along with resentment and asshole tendencies. Narcissism is a term that we throw around a lot in this sphere. It's actually really rare, but it is a major issue for many people, and you need to be aware of some of these problems when it comes to self-help. You're making yourself better, you're making yourself more attractive, and you need to control those impulses. Emotional control is very, very important in your journey. So that's number 1. Number 2, paralysis of analysis. I've seen this so many times, especially in my engineering types, the analytical people. Analytical minds, they'll get stuck in the gutter, in their mind, and in the mud. And they'll end up reading 30 books back to back to back, sometimes three times with the same book, and they're looking for that one silver bullet to fix their issues. That one little epiphany that's going to make all the difference in the world. And a lot of times it doesn't exist. And they just get stuck in the mud. It's all analysis and no action. Those are the kind of people that the analytical minds that just gets stuck in a rut. Paralysis of analysis. That's number 2. Number 3, oversharing. Oh boy, I see this a lot, especially in preoccupied attachment people. Usually the person who looks for self-help material is usually the preoccupied attachment person. The avoidant attachment people have a tendency to be oblivious to self-help, and the preoccupied attachment are the people that will download all the self-help, listen to all the podcasts, get the books, and they have a tendency to share with the avoidant partner in hopes of them realizing their faults. They're looking for that aha moment for their other partner, which will never come. The avoidant partner, all it's going to do is just turn them off and saying, I don't want this, and you're going to basically self-sabotage. Preoccupied folks, they're going to share material in an effort to essentially fix their partner and try to change them. Change doesn't happen unless somebody wants to change, and you're not going to make somebody change by telling them to read this book when they don't want to read it in the first place. So don't do that. Oversharing is number 3. Number 4, confirmation bias. This is everywhere. People do it without even thinking about it. It's very, very common. So folks have a tendency to see what fits their own narrative and ignore something contrary. We all need a BS filter on at all times, but don't totally ignore something you disagree with. You learn from it. So if you have an open mind to things, you're able to learn from new material and grow. If you're just constantly looking for something to validate your thinking, you're probably going to find it. You could put out a Google search and find anything that you want at this point and find 3,000 people in a group that's going to agree with you. Are you going to learn that way? Probably not. So take the good advice from the bad advice, but keep an open mind. That's number 4. Number 5 is seclusion. Depression is real. When it comes to the self-help material, the stuff that you start reading about, you're going to start reading about perfect couples, quote unquote. You'll see magazine covers. You're going to want to be like these people that have worked their whole lives making themselves better, and you will feel bad about yourself. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. If you wallow in what you don't have and compare yourself to others, you're doomed for failure. Comparison is the thief of joy. That's the quote that you hear all the time, and it's true. So if you compare yourself to others, you're going to get down on yourself, and you're going to seclude yourself, and you're going to say, you know what, I can't do this anymore, and you'll just drop it. And actually, in some cases, it can actually make your life even worse by going down this road. So success comes with time. It takes time to reparent yourself and to learn and to grow, period. Stick with it. There's no magic pill for this kind of thing. If you want to change and if you want to grow, it's going to take time. So how to adjust to these problems and how to adjust for the future, knowing what the possible pitfalls are. Realize that perfection isn't possible. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect. My wife's not perfect. My neighbors aren't perfect. My parents aren't perfect. Just realize that everybody's just doing the best they can with the tools that they're given. So hence why you're listening to this. Hopefully you want to get better. I know I want to get better. But just realize that perfection isn't possible. If you consider yourself a 10 out of 10, where's the room to grow? You know, if you're a 9, there's room to grow. There's always room for improvement. You set short-term goals. You set long-term goals, but you need to have attainable short-term goals in the meantime. If you set a goal of losing 200 pounds in 6 months, obviously that's a little far-fetched. But if you set a goal, I'm going to lose 10 pounds this month, that's attainable. That's something that's going to keep you going, and so you can celebrate wins. Plain and simple. Focus on the positive side of this journey. The Eeyore effect is real. Negative thinking produces negative results. Period. It always has, always will. If you think about the bright side of things, typically good things are going to happen to you. So focus on the glass is half full. Complacency is your enemy. Comfort creates complacency. So you have to get uncomfortable when it comes to your journey. Do something that scares you. Don't exactly just jump off a cliff. What you need to do is just do something once a day that makes you uncomfortable. And over time, you get more used to these kind of things. And something that scared you 6 months ago may not necessarily scare you now. Every day, try to make yourself better. Better than you were yesterday is our mantra. It's a good thing to live by. Get yourself uncomfortable. Complacency is your enemy. And realize backsliding is inevitable. As long as you go 2 steps forward and 1 step back, you have forward momentum. 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards, forward momentum. You're going to backslide a little bit. If you backslide just a little bit, you're not going back to square one typically. If you're starting out at a suicidal ideation, depression, I know what you're talking about. I've been there, done that. That's rock bottom. When you actually experience rock bottom, everything's a positive from that moment on. You're not going to backslide all the way to square one if you have a little setback. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's going to happen. Little changes over time, they lead to huge gains in the future. The book Atomic Habits by James Clear, that's a very, very good read. I love that book. That's the premise. A little change today can equal huge results for the future. So backsliding is inevitable. So there are definitely some drawbacks to self-help. It's not all good. I've seen it many, many times in my coaching people. Just realize that there are potential fallbacks. It's normal. We're human. We make mistakes. As long as you have forward momentum, you can maintain change and growth. And it's a good thing. It's very, very natural to experience the bad side of this. But as long as you're going forward, you have my respect.